Welcome along to Film Talk. I'm Richard Edwards, and today we're talking about No Time to Die, the 25th James Bond film, and the 5th from Daniel Craig, and his last in the franchise, at least so he says. It's the much anticipated film, the much delayed film, which at the moment is scheduled for release in October 2021.
Why would I betray you?
We all have our secrets. I just didn't get to yours yet.
No Time to Die takes place 5 years after Spectre, 5 years after Blofeld has been captured, and now at this point Bond has retired from the service. He's getting on a bit, he's got a dodgy knee, and he's happily enjoying his retirement when he's approached by his friend and CIA agent Felix Leiter. There's an important scientist who's missing, and when they investigate it turns out that he's been abducted, and there's a villain at play here who's threatening the lives of millions of people. The film is directed by Kariyogi Fukunaga and produced, as always, by Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli, who are the stepson and daughter of Albert R. Broccoli, one of the two producers who started the franchise in 1962 with Dr. No. It's the 25th in the series and the 5th time that Daniel Craig has appeared in the role. He started off in Casino Royale, and he has been the most successful James Bond of all time. It's his films, it's directed by Sam Mendes, Skyfall and Spectre, that first broke the $1 billion at the box office mark and has made him, without doubt, the biggest box office draw for James Bond in the whole of the franchise. The film is written by Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, who joined, I think, in 1999 with The World Is Not Enough, and have had a hand in the script of every film for James Bond ever since. No Time to Die has the biggest Bond budget of all time, some $250 million, and it clearly looks like they've invested every single cent in the visual presentation of the movie. It looks absolutely stunning. The action scenes are intense. The locations are incredibly beautiful. We see Bond and Felix Leiter together. This is where the story really starts to take off, and we find out about the missing scientist, and Bond pulls himself out of retirement. We're very quickly introduced to Naomi, played by Lashana Lynch, a new 00 agent who's brought into active service and is kind of pitted against James Bond. She threatens to shoot him in the knee, the one that works, recognising that Bond is no longer the youngster that he was in some of the previous films. And when he goes back to MI6, the security guard has no idea who Bond is. Ben Whishaw returns as Q, a great portrayal of the role, as is Naomi Harris as Miss Moneypenny. And then the story really seems to start to take off as we see Léa Seydoux as Madeleine Swann, again, who Bond hasn't seen for a very long time. Christoph Waltz as Blofeld, very evil portrayal of the character. And then we see the real intensity between Dr. Swan and James Bond play out here. And the interplay with a very evil Rami Malek here. A great character, it looks like, with that kind of porcelain mask on his face. You can't help but admire the tremendous special effects and production design in a James Bond film. Started by Ken Adam in the 60s, they followed through on that trend and that style for the production design all the way through. The stunts and action are intense, wonderfully intense. It's a trend that we've seen all the way through in the Bond franchise. It's one of the many things that make it continually so popular. And that DB5 really is a character in its own right. It's an amazing car, very, very stylish, very iconic of the era, but also it's stayed in the Bond movie all the way through, and somehow it just doesn't seem to date. As a film, it looks absolutely magnificent, and as a huge James Bond fan, I can't wait to see it. But somehow you're kind of getting, they've been promoting this film now for something like 18 months. It's had 2 rounds of marketing, 2 sets of expected release dates, and it's just failed to come to the audience. So much so now that some of the product placement people like Nokia are having to reshoot some of the scenes in the film because the technology they've product placed is now out of date. The film's been delayed so much that Nokia phone, somehow digitally they've got to put the new model into the film. And I think there's a tiredness, there's a weariness in the audience too. We've been hearing about it, we've seen the trailers, it's been much talked about. And somehow I think that's going to contribute to a bit of an anticlimax. Now I can see that the distributors, they've invested $250 million in this movie, and the distributors want to get their money back. They've helped fund the movie after all. And if it's going to get $1 billion at the box office under normal circumstances, what's it going to do during a pandemic? And the risk to the revenue, the earning revenue of this film is enormous. But the case for it to be on streaming, for it to be thinking about a different model for the audience to engage with the film, is certainly a case to be made right now. Many other films are going straight to streaming. It's a different model and people are adjusting. There is this transition period going on where streaming plays a much bigger part in distribution of a major new film. Having said all that, Bond is a big production. They've always been huge. The landscapes are vast. The action scenes are immense. It's an action-packed, visually spectacular film. And that's the kind of movie you want to see on the big screen. Now, lots of films have been delayed and it's kind of had an impact on theatres. But not having this in a theatre will have a huge impact on cinemas. So it's a very difficult road to balance. But I suspect trying to come up with something that's going to be helpful for cinemas and theatres, something that's going to be helpful for audiences and distributors as well, is a different mix. If the audiences tire, they're not going to go and see it. If they're so fed up waiting for this film to come out, they think, well, do you know what? I really can't be bothered. Maybe I'll wait until it goes on home video. And you've lost that impetus too. You've built a real interest and a desire to see this film. Now get the film to the audience. And so a mix of release types and styles is going to be very important. And I really do think they ought to start considering a digital release as well as a theatre release. Warner Brothers are making it work with the HBO Max Limited for 30 days and theatres. And maybe that's something that United Artists and Universal need to be seriously thinking about for No Time to Die, because it really will die at the box office if you don't get it out there before the audience are completely tired. I mean, it has aged so much. We don't want to be seeing a film where Bond is picking up a Bakelite phone in his car, having to stop to change over the cassette because the technology is so out of date. The movie and industry and life has moved on. So getting it right, getting that balance right is going to be very important. I can understand making those delays, but getting it to the audiences in a timely fashion is going to be very important if you don't want to lose their enthusiasm and their support going forward. That's No Time to Die. That's my opinion of the distribution of No Time to Die. It looks like an amazing film and I can't wait to see it, and I'd love to see it on a big screen sometime soon if the pandemic allows. But either way, I do want to see the film, so get it out there so we can enjoy it as a group, as an audience, or at home in home video. But let's get it out there so we can enjoy the film. That's what it was made for, after all. Do tell us what you think, leave some comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please do consider subscribing to our channel. And don't forget to hit that little bell icon so you can get a notification every time we release a new video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.